This week, MV Agusta announced their brand new 2022 RC lineup. That stands for Reparto Course or Racing Department, and so I'm sure you can get the idea. It basically takes some of their existing models and then takes them up a notch with paintwork and parts, and in MV Agusta's own words, everything needed to turn a regular bike into a racetrack ready machine. So in this video, we'll go through each of the new models. I'll tell you absolutely everything you need to know about them. Plus, I'd love to know from you at the end which one you'd go for if it was your money. So let me know down in the comments. Now, top of the bill is the F3 RC, which is their most sporty RC model based upon the F3 800RR. At the heart of it, we've got their brilliant triple cylinder engine that makes impressive power given that it's only 798cc in capacity, and that's partly because it's pretty revvy, so 147 horsepower peak at 13,000 revs. And on top of that, there's an optional race kit, so you get a full Akropovich exhaust system with a dedicated race map, and that pushes the power up to 155 horsepower at 13,250. And this is all in a package that weighs just 173 kilograms dry or 165 with that racing kit. So to say it's lively would be a bit of an understatement. I was recently lucky enough to go to Italy to visit the MV Agusta factory with Tim, and as part of the experience we got to ride a few of their new bikes, including the F3RR. Super similar to the new RC, and it's massively quick. It's such a blast to ride on the road. I'm sure it'd make an epic track bike as well, but just being a triple cylinder engine, it's actually got plenty of mid-range and a pretty smooth delivery of torque, so it was actually surprisingly usable on the road. Everything else on these bikes is top notch, so you've got Brembo radially mounted monoblock brakes, fully adjustable suspension with a Marzocchi fork and Sachs monoshock, all of their latest electronics including lean sensitive rider aids, launch control, cruise control, a quick shifter, and it's all managed through their TFT color dash, which also has phone connectivity and a GPS tracker built in. But the standout feature of this bike has to be the looks, which are pure Italian exotica, just as an MV should be. Not only do you get the same bodywork as the RR, so you've got the downforce inducing winglets and the race style front mudguard with the brake cooling ducts, but on this one you get the Italian tricolor RC paint job, and it's just the icing on the cake. But if you are still finding it a little too bland and understated, then the racing kit I mentioned also contains a CNC fuel cap, CNC levers, a passenger seat cowl, carbon heat shields for the exhaust, CNC mirror caps, and an MV Agusta bike cover, and so that ought to give it that visual lift that you're looking for. Price, well, it's just £21,150, so £6 more than the base Rosso model, and still about 2k more than the already pretty spectacular RR. Admittedly, it's a lot of money, but production will be limited to just 200 units, all of which will be numbered and delivered with a certificate of authenticity. The only thing with the F3 is that it is a pretty focused riding position, which isn't exactly a relaxing ride on the road, especially if you're as unflexible as me. And so if you're in the same boat, then perhaps consider the Dragster RC SES. You've got a much more upright riding position because of the flat bars, which are actually nice and wide, and yet you don't lose too much of the bonkers performance. So 140 horsepower peak still at 12,300 RPM, and that goes up to 150 horsepower if you fit the race kit. I tested one out last year when I was making a comparison of the Dragster and the Brutale, and I will say this, you're never bored when you're riding this bike. It always wants to go, and it's got instant acceleration on tap at any time. Much like the F3, you've got the same Brembos, the same suspension, all the tech and riding modes, but this particular RC SES version gets their smart clutch system, hence the SES. Basically, this is a recluse clutch, so although you do have a clutch lever, you don't really need to use it much. When you're off the throttle and you come to a standstill, the clutch disengages automatically, and then as soon as you apply the throttle, it's back in action and you move off, so it's twist and go, kind of like riding a 150 horsepower scooter. And of course, you've got the quick shifter, so you don't need to dip the clutch to shift gears. You might just want to slip it occasionally if you're doing low speed maneuvers, but otherwise it's pretty much redundant. It does take a little while to get used to, but once you've got the hang of it, it's really quite effective and impressive, and it does save you holding the clutch in when you're in town traffic. Now, there doesn't appear to be a non-SES version of this RC Dragster. Maybe a bit surprising because it's meant to be a more track-focused and sporty bike, and I'm not quite sure if it's beneficial, the smart clutch, in that context. Maybe it makes it easier to launch. But anyway, what a stunning looking bike. Pretty much the ultimate for me in terms of middleweight nakeds. It's the back end that just looks awesome to me, with the gaps through the tail section and those neat little flip down passenger pegs. Truly incredible to look at, and yours for only 20,520 quid. So a few hundred less than the F3, although this one isn't quite as exclusive because they're making 300 of these. And there'll be 300 of this one too, the Turismo Veloce RC SCS. This is more of a sports touring vibe with a tall upright riding position, much more wind protection, and also the option to carry some luggage. The engine is in a different tune as well. It's got less peak power at 110 horses, but peak torque is made a couple of thousand revs lower in the rev range, so it ought to make it a more gutsy, usable engine. Again, I've been lucky enough to try this bike out, again with the SES, and it really is a fun mix of comfort and speed, and all with the typically flamboyant MV styling. No race kit for this one, but you do get the transparent clutch cover, which is pretty cool, and that's also available on the Dragster as part of the race kit. Price one, this is the top of the tree at 21,650, and although it won't be the quickest or most performance orientated, you can see that you're getting quite a bit of extra hardware and features like the luggage and the adjustable windscreen. My pick of the three has to be the Dragster. It'd be an epic weekend toy that's always entertaining, and yet it's still just about comfortable enough to use for getting about. As always though, I'd love to know which one to be your pick down in the comments below, and if you're an MV fan and you haven't seen it already, then there's a full video of the factory tour from that trip I mentioned, and it's pretty much access all areas. An amazing experience for myself and Tim, and you can watch it now by clicking here.